Our tutorial will be on 3D, very basic setup of a 3D object and also a 3D camera. So we will start off with, I'll start off by showing you what I have made in Photoshop as usual. Usually we start off by showing you how I prep my Photoshop file. And in this case, what we're going to do is a simple box, a 3D box, like a jack in the box. I hope to be able to cover to the extent where we kind of animate. I think looking at this, you might already know what I might try to do, which is to have the box open and have these not so scary jack in the box pop out of the box, right? It might look scary to some, but anyway. How I've set up the Photoshop file is like this, okay? So I've got two pieces of this floral design, vintage looking one. Yeah, I wanted it to have a 1950s sort of a vintage look. So I got the texture of Pinterest, added like a wooden border around it so that it looks like the border of a box. And I've got two sides, which is the left and then the right. This one, the front and the back. So I've got FT, LT, right, back, BK is back. And then I've got the base, which is like a wooden base, and then the front has a kind of a symbol on it. The top cover of the box has a sort of symbol on it. So this is how my file looks like. I've got the jack there and the spring, right, which is this black colored tube, kind of an extended tube. So this is how my file looks like, okay? So I'm just going to close this and not save it. I would like to keep the former arrangement. Now I'm going to import in that Photoshop file we had just now. So I'm going to import in File, 3D box, okay? Obviously we're going to choose Composition, Retain Layer Sizes, okay? So I'm going to click that and press Open. Make sure it's Retain Layer Sizes again here. Press OK. Now, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the 3D box. We're going to create the 3D box, and for this we will not be needing the jack or the spring, so we can shut those down. Alright, and all we have are the 6 pieces. So we've got the base, the cover, the left and the front, the right and the back. So we can set up our 3D box now. Now anything that needs to be made into 3D, how do we do it? We select all of them. You go to this area here. You remember the 3D layer, this cube, this 3D cube. Select this. Once you click it, all of them are 3D. And you might think like, hey, I don't see the difference. How is it 3D? Now, if you change to custom view, right? Right now, custom view 1, over here is where you actually change the view of your camera. If you've got a 3D camera and you choose active camera, it is the position where the camera will be at, okay? However, if you choose the rest, it's basically just the front, the left, the top, okay? Now, if you choose custom view 1, you might notice that there's nothing going on right now, but once you click this 3D option for these objects, you'll notice that it converts it into a 3D space, because now you have 3D objects. Custom view 1 is viewable. Previously, if there are no 3D objects, it makes no difference because everything is 2D, right? Once you click this, you'll notice that there's a 3D, it becomes like a 3D space. It doesn't have depth yet, because they're all still flat. These are imported, like these are your Photoshop layers, and they are brought in flat, correct? So I'm going to arrange this into a cube. Okay, I'm going to make these two into the sides, and this in the front and back, and this is the base. Okay, so very quickly now, I'm going to tackle the left and right first. Okay, so the left and the right. So the box left and the box right. Now, how to arrange? I know that if I choose the front view, they're all aligned, so I should not need to move them up and down along the y-axis, okay, yet. Now, so what I need to do is rotate this to the to the right hand side, okay? So sorry, kind of flat to the right hand side. So if I go to the top view, you'll notice that all these 3 layers are flat, okay? So the right, I'm going to rotate it, correct? Yeah. So I'm going to rotate it, no, this way, y-axis at 90 degrees, okay? 90, pop. And same goes for the left side, yeah? So that also 90 degrees, okay? I tell you what, I'm going to split the view so that it's easier for you to understand what's happening, okay? I'm going to make 2 views, horizontal, left and right, okay? This view, I'm going to choose like this one, I'm going to choose the custom view so that you can see what's happening. Now you see, these 2 has been rotated 90 degrees on the y-axis. Do you see now what has happened? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the left side and align it to, so this is the top view of your box, right? So you're trying to assemble this 3D box and pushing it nearer, okay? And then you take the right side and of course you push it over to the right. While I'm pushing it, try and observe what's happening on this screen, right? So that you understand how I'm trying to visualize this 3D box. Okay, so it's over there. So now you have the front and the back both stuck here. So what do you think I should do? I should go and roll over on the Z-Dab. The one I've selected is the front, so I'm going to just move it to the front. See? Right? Then you take this, which is the back, and then you move this to the back. I know that in this screen it looks like we are moving to the top, but really in the 3D view it's actually moving it to the back. Okay, because this is the top view. It's as if in this view it's as if you're looking straight down onto the box, right? Then we have the next thing to tackle, which is the base and the top cover. So both of them need to be rotated the same way. Okay, so I'm going to press R and it's going to be on the X rotation, so I'm going to rotate it. Now you see, if I rotate it 90 degrees, type it 90 degrees, you notice that it has turned this way, so I can see this now, right? Because it has turned flat facing the top. Okay, so now in order to arrange this, I'm going to first align it so that it is right in the center of the box. Okay, but it's still not correct yet because it's right now, you see there's this gap here, right? It's like it's in the middle of the box. So what I need to do is go to the front view. From the front view, I can check that the base and the cover is in the center exactly where it is. So the base, I'm going to shift it to the bottom of the box, and then the cover, I'm going to shift it right, cover, I'm going to shift it right to the top. So you see, as I push it up, can you see it's rising? Yeah, so we are just about done. I mean, you can go really accurate lah, huh? You can actually go very accurate by going very close to the box, adjusting, make sure they align, but mine is not very aligned very well. But I think it's sufficient lah, yeah? I'm not going to zoom that close to the box anyway. So yeah, you have your 3D box, okay? If you want to see other views of it, you can choose custom view 2, custom view 3, the other side. Okay, so you have got your whole 3D box set up already. Now, what I would like to do before I start animating it is that I also want to change the anchor point for the cover. Now, I would like the cover to open, right? But right now, if I were to rotate it in any direction, for example like this, it's very weird. Yeah, you wouldn't have a box open like that. It needs to be hinged to a side, am I right? So if I go to the top view right now, I choose cover, I press Y to move my anchor point. I'm going to move it now to one corner, say this corner right here, the back corner. And I press V to exit the anchor point transformation. Now, if I change it now, do you see that it's much better? It's opening like a box. Yeah, because right now the anchor point has been shifted to one side, which I want. Okay, so yeah, great. So you've got your 3D box set up already. Now, am I going to animate? The next question is, am I going to animate in this composition itself? Sorry, just want to check if my recording is still on. Okay, it is. Okay, so I just want to know if I should animate within this setting. The answer is no, because what I'd really like to do is keep my layer count or element count within my composition really low. So what I want to do is I'm going to pre-compose all of this box layers into another composition. Okay, so I'm going to call this one right now, I'm just going to call this I'm going to call this the 3D box, and I'm going to nest it in another composition. So I think you guys all know how to nest, right? So I'm going to drag it down, plonk it in here. So now it's in a new composition now. Okay, it's in a new composition, and we're going to call this new composition you have just created, it's automatically named it 3D box 2 for you, but I'm going to press enter and call this Jack in the Box C. Okay, so once I've done that, now you'll be thinking like, okay, I put this thing into the 3D, the box that I've set up so painstakingly into this new composition. So what happened to my 3D box? Right now it looks like it's 2D and I can't do anything with it. If I press scale, shucks, there's X value and Y value, there's no Z value. So what happened to my 3D box? Okay, so maybe the first thought would be you click on the 3D view, but it looks like it just took your composition and just made it 3D. It's still flat, right? You see, it's still flat. So what you need to do is you need to click on this, collapse transformation, and what it does, it brings all the 3D properties into this composition. And once you've done that, you see, this entire composition becomes 3D. Okay, so I hope that helps. Now, you understand what we can do here right now. So you can animate as it is, and even if, let's say, you go back to the composition where 3D box is, now you must understand what you're doing. You have a scene called the Jack in the Box with an element called a 3D box, which is a composition. So if you go double click here, you come back here. Alright, so whatever you animate here, say you animate the cover here at 4 seconds, for example, you click on the X rotation and it swings open, right? Swings open. If you go back to the Jack in the Box scene, you will notice that it does that as well. But obviously you cannot control the opening of the box here because there are no keyframes for the cover here. You have to double click here and get in here and change that. Okay? Alright, so now let's remove these keyframes first, because what we want to do next is have the box appear. And the way I want it to appear is as if it's going to jump out of, like, there's no box there, so it just suddenly magically appears. Okay, now and I want the scale to be going down to 0. Now you might think that, okay, I would like to scale this manually using the scale tool here. You can, but the scale tool, if you notice, it's all kind of linked. Not linked in the sense that it's proportionately linked, but okay, if you look at it this way, if I unlink this, alright, and I create a keyframe, say here, and I start it at 0, 0, 0, so it's all 0. Okay, so let's just say it appears at 1 second and it stretches out a little bit. Okay, okay, it stretches out first. All right, it overshoots by 143%. Okay, so it overshoots by 43%, and then it shrinks down, right? So what I want it to do is it shrinks down. After 1 second, it shrinks down. It overshoots by shrinking down by 30%, so 20%, so it goes down to 80. Yeah, because I want to have that kind of stretch and squash. Now, let's just say I want it to move just kind of sideways. I'll have the side, the squash overshoot probably about 120% or so. Yeah, okay. You notice that all my keyframes is all on one row. I wish I could separate actually my X, Y, and Z axis separately, yeah, so that they don't share all the same keyframe. It's like if I move my X axis right now, it creates another keyframe for both the Y and Z as well. So I don't want that. So there's an easier way to do this. Well, I wouldn't say easier, it's a few extra steps, but it makes your animation work a little bit more in control. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I mean, I'm not to say that you can't animate like this using this way. You can, but there is another method which I'm just going to show you anyway, if you want to choose to use it, because it will help you have better control over your scale. Okay, so let's just remove all of this keyframes and let it set to 100. Okay, so remove the. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to use a expression slider control. Okay, now what that does is it I'll just show you what it does. Okay, basically it separates the values for you. So I'm going to click on the 3D box, go up to effect, and then go to expression controls and slider control. I'm going to name the first slider here. I'm going to press enter and name it X scale, and then I'm going to duplicate it by Control D, so it creates this X scale 2, and name it Y scale, and then Control D, and then Z underscore scale. So I've got XYZ scale here. Now, how am I going to attach this XYZ value here to here? Okay, very simple. Hold down your alternate key, click on the stopwatch, and then you get this where you start typing in your expression, right? And remember, whenever you type the word wiggle and stuff like that, so that's where you type it. So I'm going to press X equals to pick whip. Yeah, this is called the pick whip, this curly thing here. Pick whip to the X slider. You roll over, you pull the whip to the word slider under the X scale. Okay, and then you let go. Then you get this effect equals to blah blah blah, and then you go to the next line. But before you go to the next line, you have to punch a semicolon. Okay, type in a semicolon at the end, press enter, then press Y equals to, again, pick whip, this time to Y scale slider, semicolon, press enter and repeat again for Z, pick whip to slider, and then semicolon again. Oh, sorry, I didn't put Z equals to. Alright, now then press enter, and I'm going to do a final equation which sums up everything here. Alright, basically telling After Effects that what this X equals Y equals is the coordinates. So I'm going to open bracket X, comma, Y, comma, Z, close bracket, semicolon. Okay, so this is the script that you need to create in order to link all of them, the scale, to the sliders. Okay, alright, so you're done. Okay, now where has your box disappeared? Where do you think now? Because now you have linked all the scale for this box to the sliders. your sliders are all at 0. So obviously you want to see your box again. All you need to do is bring it all back to 100, 100, and 100. So you've got your box again. Okay, so now you can animate your box. Yeah. Now, before I start animating my box, I'm gonna put a Y, change the anchor point to the front and bring my anchor point down. I want the anchor point at the base, and yeah, okay. So now let's shift this back to custom view. Okay, this one is custom view now, this one is the top view. Alright, so now how do you animate this box now? I'm going to animate now. Instead of pressing S and animating the scale, I'm going to use the sliders. Where can you find the sliders here? Now if you look here, it's got transformation, which has all these things now. Yeah, it usually has 5 if you are using a 2D object, but because you're using 3D, so your scale has extra values, your rotation has increased because it's moving in the 3-dimensional space, right? Okay, so yeah, you also have effects. Now it is here that you can find X, your sliders, X scale, Y scale, and Z scale. It's no longer in the transform tool. Okay, so let's just say at 1 second I'm going to have all of them at 0. Okay, a second and a half later, I press U so that I can bring up all the keyframes. Whenever you have an object, an element that you've animated, and you just want to bring up the elements that you have keyframe, press U. Okay, yeah. Now, I'm going to have it. No, it has. Wait, I want it all at 0, and then 0 here, and then half a second later, maybe 9, probably 10 frames later, I'm going to stretch it out. Oops, sorry, not this way. Over the Y value. Yes, I want it to stretch out like that. Okay, so now you see I can scale the object in the X, Y, and Z separately, and it has its own keyframe, which makes things a lot easier to control. Okay, so now I'm going to have the Y slider. Yeah, so I can remove the keyframes for the X and Y at the beginning, and just keep the X and Z at the beginning, and just keep the one for Y, right? So I'm going to have this cube kind of shoot up, overshoot by 100 and probably 140%. Okay, and then okay, so it overshoots. Oh, sorry. This one's supposed to be 0. So put 0. So it overshoots 140%. Okay, and then it's gonna go down. It's gonna flatten down, overshoot again by -20%. So it brings it to 80. So I want it to kind of have that bounce effect. So it shoots up and then squashes down, right? And before it flattens out, so I'm going to put these two keyframes here, both the X and the Z sliders. So the X now, as it flattens down, I want it to overshoot the flattening down. So instead of 100, I'm going to put 127. So this should be the same because it's a cube. So what you have now is overshooting and then flattening out. Okay, and then probably it narrows back in. Yeah, it stretches now. Now I'm going to squash it back again. So I'm going to overshoot it probably 110. Okay, and this one I'm going to bring it in slightly. It's 95. This should be 95 as well. So you have a kind of overshoot. and bounce. Okay, and then finally it settles at 100 for all the values. Alright, so let's have a look at the rough motion. I will drag the editing area so that I can check on my motion easier. Let's have a look. Oh, I want this one, custom view. Okay, so timing is obviously not very nice, so I'm going to stretch this out, offset this slightly, because I offset this instead of aligning it like that, like this. I want the stretch and squash to have a kind of a bit of a delay, so I'm going to offset the X and the Z sliders, yeah, because that's why I want to bounce. And now, so this, and this. Now, usually when an animation starts, it's going to start very fast. For something that appears magically like that, usually it starts very fast. So I'm going to narrow this down. So this, oops, sorry. I'm going to set these keyframes nearer to this one slightly further, this one even further, and this one furthest. Okay, so you can see the gap kind of increasing because as it settles, the energy of the movement slows down. So it's like kind of when you swing, right? When you push the initial swing, the swing or the degree is very high, right? Then it slowly slows down. Or when you shake a jelly, right? You shake it initially, it's very wobbly. Then as it slows down, it settles down, and the timing between the vibration is even slower, right? Okay, so let's just test it out now. Okay, I feel that the movement is just okay, but it's a bit slow and it lacks one very major thing, which I think you all know what it is. It is the ease in and ease out. So let's do that right now. Let's click on all the graph editors, click on this, easy ease, and I think you need to hit the eases harder. When I say hit the eases harder, that means previously when you first click on easy ease, right? See here, first is all straight lines, correct? Yeah, no easing in, easing out, movement is constant. You select all the keyframes, you hit on easy ease, correct? Now you see the curve still looks quite straight. Hitting it hard means you really want to emphasize the easing in and easing out. So you pull the beziers like that, and you can really get an ease in and ease out. That's very nice. The curves are really there. So let's have a look. Yeah, see? I don't know, probably the shooting up could have been better. Let's try it again. Probably it needs to be a bit faster though. Let's try and shrink it down to even 1 second. Oh, looks very nice. Looks like a jello, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. So now we are not satisfied. We want it to kind of do a jump when it starts out. Okay, that's what the stretch is for. It's as if it came out from the ground. So now you bring up your position, hold down your shift key, P. Okay, so let's zoom into the timeline again. Starts here, click here, the keyframe. Then so if when it rises, okay, it's gonna go up a little bit. Then when it squashes down, it's gonna fall back to the ground. So I'm gonna just copy and paste the first keyframe. So it goes up and down. Now that's all I'm gonna do with the position. I'm gonna change the rotation as well. Yeah. So when it comes up, it does like a spin. Let's just see what rotation should be. Okay, so the Y rotation. So when it comes up, Y, I'm going to keyframe here first, and then when it comes up, I want it to spin like one round. So I'm going to type 1 at the back and the front. So it does a spin. Yeah, so you see now it rises, it spins around and then flattens. Okay, so let's hit it with some easy ease. All right, stretch it here, hit it hard, and then let's have a look. Okay, all right. Well, maybe we should even let it settle a bit further. Yeah, as in even after it lands on the ground, let it spin. I think it will look quite nice. Yeah, see? Okay, so it has a kind of a cartoony stretch and squash sort of feel. Yeah, so these are so important in your animation, having the easy ease, the stretch and squash, yeah, and the follow through. See, all the principles of animation need to be applied here right now. Okay, all right, so it does that, it spins open. Okay, if you want to, even when it's jumping, you can add in a Z rotation or a X rotation if you want. I don't know how it looked like. Probably we can try it out. But you need to copy and paste both the rotation, because you need it to land flat, right? But it can kind of just rotate slightly, perhaps. Okay, it makes it look a little bit more interesting. Yeah. Actually, maybe it's better without the rotation of the Z and the X and the Z rotation. I think it looks better just flat. Less is more. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do is we want to open the box. Okay, we want to open the box, probably let the box settle and just leave it for half a second, so it stops animating here around 2:04. What's gonna happen is gonna push the playback head until here about 2:14, and that's where the box will open. Now, how does it open? I can't animate it here because it's only the 3D box that's here. So I have to double click on this, go to the box cover at 2:14 because it will tally with the other composition, and press R for the cover and press a keyframe for the X and have the box open. Okay, so let's zoom into the timeline, move a couple of frames, maybe from 2:15, that's about half a second here, maybe half a second, have it swing open, right? Swings open like that. And obviously I'm not going to just have it swing once. It's going to overshoot, all right, overshoot, and then bounce back in a little bit, and then overshoot a little bit more again. I'm trying to make it settle, right? It was previously minus 82, so I'm gonna have it minus probably 70, and then after that take this one, copy paste, minus 50, so probably down. So it does a wait. Okay, so like I said, settle means to have it settle or have a kind of a slowing down pace. The interval in the last keyframe should be further apart. The first one, when it swings open, should be the fastest, and then it bounces, and then see, so it gets wider and wider and wider. Okay, so obviously the next thing you need to do is create easy ease. Okay, again push the eases so that it's even more obvious. Oops, I want to see in this window. Again, let's, yeah, okay. I guess it's okay. right? What do you think? I think it should be sufficient. Okay, yeah, let's have a look at it again. I think it's quite okay. Yeah. Maybe one more, just one more frame. So it goes up and then it goes down again. Oops. Minus 70. Okay. Alright, so it has another extra frame. Okay, so if you go into the Jack in the Box scene again, you'll notice that your box animates with the opening of the box now. Okay, alright, so I'm not going to put the Jack in yet. Or perhaps we can actually put a Jack in already. So going to have switch on the Jack and the spring now. Okay, now I can't see them. Why? Because they are not made 3D yet, so I'm going to make them into 3D. Okay, so I think the next thing we need to do is actually best for us to put in a camera, or should we? Okay, I think what we'll do is we animate the Jack first. Okay, so in order to animate the Jack, we have it facing front. Okay, let's take out the Jack front view. Okay, so your Jack is here, right? And bring down the anchor point down here for the spring, and bring this down here. Because why did I bring it both down? Because I would like to be able to move it like this, right? I think. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna parent the Jack to the spring. Okay, so I'm going to parent Jack to the spring, and I'm going to move them back in. Okay, I'm going to plant in a 3D camera later, and it's not going to face front of the box like this. It's not going to look like this. I'm going to tilt it slightly, so I want the Jack to be like the spring. I'm going to change the rotation of the spring to face the camera slightly, probably around here. Okay, so I'm going to have the spring. Now I can animate the spring. Okay, so it comes out the box. The box opens up. Oops. Okay, it opens up around here, so I think the Jack would spring out here. So I'm going to take this tool, I'm going to hit the bracket key to show that that's where the Jack will be coming out. I don't need the Jack and the spring before that, so I'm going to just start here. Okay, now scale. So scale the spring, detach this, we'll scale it down, press it down on the y-axis. Yeah, make sure that it's completely hidden. Let's look at the front. Is it completely hidden? Front view, yeah, looks hidden. Okay, so oops, active custom view 1. all right, so it's gonna pop out. So the scale is gonna pop out from here to probably just a couple of frames. It's gonna scale up and overshoot 120. Okay, and then it's gonna go down to, let's say, 90, 110, and then 95, and then 100. So you notice the way I changed the value, it's kind of decreasing. Yeah, the variations. And again, you need to space them out in such a way where there is that ease, what you call that settling, okay, again, easy ease. Okay, this is very confusing. Let's shut off this. I'm going to click this one. I don't need this anymore, the cover, so I'm going to press U and then switch this off, and all I want to animate is this easy ease. Alright, cool. So once that's done, okay, then you've got the jack coming out. Okay, so it's just moving. Let's just preview this. Oh, probably preview it here. Okay, I think it's quite alright. Then I'm going to just do some rotation as well. Yeah, have it kind of rotate on the z-axis. Okay, so it's going to remain straight like that. Actually, it doesn't need to really remain straight now. You could start off an angle, shoots out, goes back in, probably -2. So as it shoots out, it kind of goes at an angle. Then when it goes back in, it changes slightly, probably -5, and then comes out again. Then 3, then -3, and then 2. So it goes from negative to positive to negative to positive. So it moves, it has a kind of moving left and right kind of thing. So let's also put an easy ease on this. Okay, and let's have a look, preview it. Alright, I think it's quite nice. Alright, so what I usually like to do in terms of cheat, to make it even more convincing, I'm going to copy these keyframes, and I'm going to apply a rotation, a Z rotation on the jack as well. So I'm going to paste it, Control V, alright, on the jack, and it will have a set of rotation as well. And I'm going to just stretch it out and offset it slightly, yeah, because appendages that are further away tend to delay, yeah. So if you look at it right now, oh, it seems a bit slightly detached. Just push it nearer, okay. So you see, it has a kind of delay that goes on in the animation again, right? In fact, if you delay it more, you will really see how obvious the delay is. Okay, let's play it one more time. Okay, so I think it could be better lah. Alright, but anyway, we won't waste too much time on this, because the next thing I want to show you is putting a 3D camera, because right now this angle, to be honest, looks a bit flat, correct? I want to put in a 3D camera, okay? Okay, so yeah, okay, how do we put in a 3D camera in a situation like this? We don't put it in here in the 3D box layer, we go back to the scene, okay? Okay, you see your jack is flat. So now, how do we put in a 3D camera? Layer, new, null object, that's the first thing I put in, and layer, new camera. So these are two things that I need when I set up a 3D camera. Why do I need a null object? Let me show you, okay? So when I put in a 3D camera, the camera has its own transformation tools, alright? It has the position and rotation, blah blah blah. Now, when I choose to move the position of the camera, observe how it's moving. You see, if I go to the top view, click on camera, I'm going to move it left and right, okay? See, oh, sorry. Do you notice that it's not really moving? Yeah, well, it's moving to the left or to the right, but it's just rotated, but because it's pivoted to the point of interest. Okay, this is your point of interest. Okay, see, when I change the value of the point of interest, that moves. So I don't want that. Alright, so the camera's position controls is linked to the point of interest. The point of interest is fixed, so no matter how I move the camera, it's gonna be linked to that. So I don't want that. Okay, so the way to go forward is to have a null, because a null have its own set of transformation tools, and the way the null moves is like any other object in After Effects, and it's a lot easier to control the camera. Okay, so I'll show you how to link it now, how to link your camera to this null. First thing you need to do is rename your null to camera null. Alright, then I'm going to switch on the 3D layer, because a camera is 3D. The camera null needs to be 3D as well. Okay, where is the camera null right now? It's here. A null is basically like an invisible dummy thing that you put in. And you will learn a lot of it in 3D. Okay, now it is over here. The camera is way down here. What you need to do is, this is the top view, yeah guys, by the way. So the camera needs to be pushed all the way to where the null is. Okay, and you just need to check again where the camera null is. Yeah, it's a square, like an invisible square, and your camera now is here. Okay, so you're going to link the camera to the camera null. So you no longer need to play with the position or transform tools of the camera. In fact, you can lock this down and only play around with the camera null. Now, you see when I press P right now, and when I want to move my camera, you notice that if I move left or right, if I move, see, when I move the x-axis, it really just moves left and right. It's not pivoted to a point of interest or anything. Okay, so it makes animation a lot more easier to control. That's why I like to always create a null and attach the camera to this null, and then I animate the null, not the camera. Okay, I repeat, you're going to animate the nulls, not the camera. Okay, the null's position, sorry. Okay, so when the animation of the box shoots out, I want the camera to be over here and then facing the box. Okay, now be a good time to change your camera mode. One of this view, you've got two views here, one of it to active camera. So what active camera is, it's going to be looking at what your camera is looking at. So if I change the rotation, okay, you see the box now. Okay, if you go here and you go to the top view, you notice, okay, the camera is looking that way, right? Oh, I need to remove the background. Let's double click on the 3D box, remove the background, delete it. Okay, alright. I feel it's too close. The camera is way too close because you can't see the whole box at all. So you can zoom out. Okay, and probably start the camera off higher. So I'm going to roll over, very carefully roll over until I see the word Y, and just bring it up, and then point the camera down using rotation. Oops. You have to kind of play around with this. Okay, and then move it again and again. Okay, probably a bit further. Alright, so this is where the camera will start, so I'm going to keyframe the position and the rotation. I'm just keyframe everything anyway. Okay, and so the camera is gonna, the box is gonna appear, and then before it opens, I want the camera to zoom in. Okay, zoom in close because we want to see the jack in the box coming out. Zoom in close, and it's going to go down a little bit, yeah, and give it a kind of a high angle shot. Oops. Takes a bit of adjusting. Okay. Let's see how far he bounces. Oh, we are way out of, so we need to zoom out a bit more. Probably it'd be helpful to just bring all the keyframes here and use it to, yeah. Oh, sorry. I've made another keyframe. Okay, I'm gonna tilt up a bit more. Okay, great. So I've got, it really looks like a high angle right now. Oh, sorry. I started stretching the box. So it has come from here, zoom in all the way, and then it bounces out. So before he comes out, I'm going to have the camera stop. Okay, and then he bounces out. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is, of course, I'm going to create easy ease on my keyframe, especially the position. Actually, sometimes the rotation I'm not very bothered, but it's the position that I will keyframe. So it eases in and the camera eases in and eases out. So let's check the motion of the camera. A bit too fast. Let's stretch it out. Okay, readjust it. Sometimes I feel that the motion path might be dipping a bit too much. See, it goes a little bit too low. So I'm going to go to the side and try and adjust the motion path of the camera. So from the, let's see, okay, all right, so it goes down. You see the camera is actually going to travel down. So what I'm going to do is arc and then left, so it goes like that. Okay, I think that should be fine. Okay, so I think, yeah, you get the idea of how to actually set up a 3D camera and move it across 3D space. What would make it really convincing, guys, actually for this tutorial is if you would like to add a ground and like a background, which I don't have right now. Okay, but I think basically this gives you a good idea or fundamental of how to set up a 3D object in After Effects as kind of a pseudo or fake 3D lah. Okay, so and also how to set up a 3D camera. Yeah, you can move the 3D camera any way you want. If you're using it for storyboarding, you can set it up in different layers, like different foreground, middle ground, background in different layers, offset the layers in terms of position, and then move a camera through it. You can do that, or you can do something like this. It moves in a very dynamic way. You could construct this into, instead of a box, you can make buildings with not just 4 sides, with multiple sides if you want, and move a camera around it for your storyboarding. In motion graphics, you can do, of course, a lot more lah. So in motion graphic sequences, like animating logos and stuff like that. But obviously, it's quite limited. You'll notice that because of the way we construct it, it's limited to geometric, square, cube, rectangular, pyramidical shapes. If you're talking about circles and spheres, it's going to be difficult. Okay? So I hope that this tutorial basically builds a foundation for you guys for your setting up of 3D objects. Okay?